When you find a recipe you love, use that same recipe for 4 different delicious desserts. These desserts will work with any cake batter, but I'm using my perfect chocolate cake, which is really easy to make and makes the moistest cake that's not too sweet. The recipe link is in the video description, or you can click at the top of the screen to go to my website where it's written in cups and also in grams with conversions to make different size batches. For a glaze, filling, and frosting, I'm using ganache, which is delicious, super easy to make, and only uses 2 ingredients. The recipe link is also in the video description. For the first dessert, spoon your cake batter into a piping bag, and it's easiest to do this by lowering the bag into a glass and folding the top over the rim to hold it open, while you fill it about 3/4 full. Grease a silicone donut mold with an oil spray and pipe the batter into the donut rings, keeping in mind that these will rise, so don't overfill them or they'll cover up the signature hole in the middle as they bake. Donuts bake at 375 degrees Fahrenheit or 190 degrees Celsius for 14 to 18 minutes, depending on the batter. Let them cool until the mold has cooled slightly, enough to pick up and push through the silicone mold to get the donuts out. Look what happens if you don't grease the mold. I really don't recommend skipping that step. After making the ganache, it will be runny, and this is the perfect consistency for a donut glaze. Dunk the donuts in the ganache and twist them to coat the top surface, and then flip them over onto a wire rack to let the excess drip off. If you want to sprinkle them with any toppings or sprinkles, do that now, while the ganache is still soft and sticky. Quick shortcut tip. If you want to bake these in advance, freeze them in a Ziploc bag for up to a month before you glaze them, and they'll stay perfectly fresh. To use the same cake batter to make cupcakes, use an ice cream scoop to fill cupcake wrappers without making a mess, and aim to fill them up 3/4 full so that they don't overflow and bulge out to make big muffin tops when they bake. Cupcakes bake for between 15 and 19 minutes at 375 Fahrenheit or 190 Celsius. While they bake, whip the cooled ganache until your whisk leaves a trail behind as it mixes, and stiff peaks form. Transfer the whipped ganache into a piping bag fitted with a star-shaped tip like a 1M tip, and once the cupcakes cool, pipe a swirl onto the top of each one. To bake a cake instead, grease 3 4-inch pans if your batter is for 6 cupcakes, and divide the batter between them. Bake for 18 minutes at 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 175 Celsius, and notice that the baking temperature for cakes is lower than for donuts or cupcakes, so that they bake evenly. More tips on that in my Basics of Cake MasterCourse on my Cake School, and the link is in the top of the screen and in the video description. When the cakes have cooled, use a serrated knife to trim the tops to level them. Place the first layer onto a plate, attaching it with a dot of whipped ganache, and pipe little dots in a ring all around the cake, working your way inwards to cover it. Place the next layer of cake on top, centering it and pressing down slightly to attach it to the ganache dots, and then pipe another round of dots on top. Lower your final layer, flipping it over so that the flattest side is on top, which is the side that was on the bottom of the cake pan when you baked it, not the top that you trimmed. And this way round, you'll keep your cake moister and give it a nice flat top. These naked cakes are so quick to decorate, and for me, the ratio of cake to ganache is perfect because it's not too sweet or too rich. Finally, if your cupcakes bake too low, or if they overflow, or if your cake layers crumble, save that cake. Spoon some whipped ganache into the bottom of a glass, and optionally add a scoop of ice cream. Press half a cupcake or some cake crumbles on top, and continue layering until you get to the top of the glass. For bonus points for presentation, pipe a swirl of whipped ganache on top and drizzle it with some leftover ganache glaze. Yum! Which of these desserts would you choose? For these recipes and more, go to britishgirlbakes.com. Thanks for watching.